All right, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video, another NBA offseason video. In this video, I want to talk about a team that I think a lot of people are underrating and are being unfair to in the Los Angeles Clippers. I want to talk about their trade of Kawhi Leonard to Toronto and getting in return All-Star Brandon Ingram. I want to talk about them signing Rui Hachimura today. I want to talk about them getting Darius Garland mid-season, having him in the system under Coach Tyronn Lue for an extended period of time now. I want to talk about their draft pick, Keontae Wagler. I want to talk about their other players that are on the team or confirmed to be on the team, and some rumors that have been floating around. So if you like what I say, like the video. If you have any opinions, comment it down below. And if you just like the vibes, consider subscribing. I did say in my trade video where I talked about the Kawhi trade that I did not talk about the Clippers side of this, and that being them getting Brandon Ingram. And I didn't think I'd make a whole video about these guys, but over the weekend I was trying to think what video can I make? I need to make a video for Monday. Some of the off-season stuff has kind of come and gone. The big dominoes have fallen, and then I started thinking about, I was like, well, we could talk about the Clippers, Brandon Ingram, Darius Garland, Keontae Wagler, um, and then I saw a report that they're in the running to get Peyton Watson's services, top left of your screen, guarding Brandon Ingram, number 3. They're in the hunt for Peyton Watson, and the Nuggets are open to signing and trading Peyton Watson. Now, this is not saying the Clippers are just going to go get him just because some random report said it, but I just thought it was interesting that they were even in the hunt for a player like that, who I I like Payne Watson. I think there's a lot of untapped potential there for him. So that was the genesis of this video. And then this morning, today, they signed Rui Hachimura. Let's see, what is it? It's a 2-year deal with what is that? Is that a team option? I believe that is a team option on that second year. So they have Rui Hachimura's services for 2 years. He's 28 years old, power forward, top right of your screen. Rui stays in LA. This time going down to Englewood from Los Angeles, formerly being a Laker, now a Clipper, and that just makes this team even more interesting. And in preparation for this video, I was trying to look at their draft picks and everything, and their next year draft situation. They do not own their draft pick next year. It goes to OKC again because of the Paul George trade. They do, however, get the Toronto Raptors pick, which at this point isn't going to be very high. I don't think it's going to be very high in general, but their next season doesn't depend on how well they do, essentially. And what I mean by that is, if they do bad, they don't get a draft pick. If they do good, they don't get a draft pick off their own play. They're relying on other teams to be bad, or et cetera, right? Or they're just going to lose the pick regardless. So they want to be good. And all the moves they've been making screams to me that they at least want to be kind of sort of good. Just good enough, And maybe, just maybe, they'd be a playing team. And looking at their roster, we can go through the whole roster here in a moment, because I find it a very interesting group of guys. So from the Kawhi Leonard trade, they get Grady Dick, they get Brandon Ingram, who Grady Dick he might be bust. He might be able to recoup some of his assets. I mean, he's only 23. Do they have a lot of guards on this team? They don't have a lot of shooting guards, so to speak. They do have Cam Christie, who is about on the same wavelength as Grady Dick. So they're going to be fighting for minutes and potentially playing time, and to prove themselves that they belong on a team. You get Brandon Ingram in this Kawhi Leonard trade. He has a player option next year, so he could walk. So you kind of have to convince him that you're going to be good, and you're going to be able to at least be somewhat competitive. I mean, he's going to be 30. He's 29 right now. You bring in Rui Hachimura, which Rui has been weird because I've had my ups and downs with him. I feel like at times maybe he suffered from playing with LeBron and Luka, and at one point LeBron and Anthony Davis, where he didn't get a lot of looks. Even when he had it going, some nights he just wouldn't get the ball, and he's been trusted with some really big shots in his Lakers tenure when he was there, and I grew to like him a little bit. Now, do I like a big three? We'll skip ahead here of like Rui Hachimura, Brandon Ingram, and Darius Garland. I like it well enough. I just don't. What are they both? 29, 28, 27. So they're all in the same timeline. And I guess I want to say, because the development's basically done. Darius Garland is who he is. Rui Hachimura is who he is. Brandon Ingram is who he is. So there's not any development going to happen for them. Maybe a change of role, but not any development in their game. Just more of maybe a scoring load or a distributing role for each individual player. I don't. This is one of those weird teams where they're obviously not going to be a top five team next year. They're going to hang around, I think, the area of a team this past season in the Suns, where some nights they're going to look really bad. Like you're going to be like, wow, yeah, they're not anywhere close to competing. And then some nights they're gonna go out there and they're gonna be some really tight games. And this is without the potential addition of Peyton Watson. If they get Peyton Watson, I like this team a lot more because that would essentially be a team of Darius Garland, Peyton Watson, Brandon Ingram, Rui Hachimura, and then Yannick Conan Niederhauser. That's a mouthful of a name. Who I really like. They have him listed as a forward. They played him at center a lot this past year. Um, that'd be a big three, a big four, big whatever. That'd be when I say young core, I mean youngish core. Like I said, they're all almost 30. Can't really call it young core. It'd be a decent core of players that have been around the league a lot, um, know their role, maybe perhaps opening to changing their role. I mean, I'm not saying I want Rui to be like my number two option, but like if it's like Brandon Ingram getting the most shots and then Rui, I like that. I like Darius Garland as a distributor. I do like him as a scorer as well, but I feel like he works well when he has other people going. He's one of those players where if he gets his teammates going first, it opens up his shot a lot more. Not saying he's not a tough shot maker or taker, but we saw it in Cleveland where he was at his best when it was Donovan Mitchell going off on one of the bigs, whether it be Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. Darius Garland's going to have the opportunity to play with some other players that play away from the basket and play in sort of the mid range. Obviously, Brandon and Rui can both get to the basket, but it can open up the backdoor cuts for Darius. It can open up the off the ball actions for Darius, and I think that would be really good to see because I don't want Darius to work too hard, especially because he's been injured a lot over the past couple years. If he doesn't, if the less he has to work hard, the better, because I'm talking like I'm a Clippers fan. Um, the Clippers would want Darius to be healthy towards the end of the season because they have nothing to lose. It's not like they're going to tank for a better pick because they don't need to. They don't own their pick, so they're just going to try to be at least halfway decent. And then I go look at the rest of this team. Um, that including older guys like Chris Dunn, who I really like defensively. Offensively, he's come along a little bit. Brook Lopez, who I don't even know if Brook Lopez is going to play. I mean, he's going to clear this last year of his deal. It's guaranteed. It's $9 million on the books, and then he's going to be unrestricted in 2027, 2028. Do they waive him? Is he in that Payne Watson trade just to make the money work? I don't know. This trade, not this trade, these all-season moves also kind of put Derrick Jones Jr. in a weird place where Rui, Brandon, they also re-signed Jordan Miller. They re-signed Kobe Sanders. Um, it reduces playing time for a guy like Derrick Jones, who I really liked on that competitive version of the Clippers team. This one, I don't know if I would like Derrick Jones Jr. on. I feel like it makes the forward spots too crowded. Not to say Derrick Jones Jr. doesn't deserve to play, or doesn't deserve the opportunity to start as like one of the older players on this team or one of the more established players on this team. But maybe you could package Brook and Derrick and try to go get something else. Not saying that's going to get you Payne Watson at all. that I don't think that gets you anywhere near Payne Watson. But maybe you could package those two together and send them off somewhere else where they can be on a bit more of a competitive roster that's heading towards Western Conference Finals or Eastern Conference Finals or championship um, NBA Finals stuff. Um, I look at the rest of the roster after that, and it's consisting of Kawhi Leonard's going out. They still have him listed here. Um, Consists of Isaiah Jackson, Yannick Niederhauser, Cam Christie, Nick Martelli. That's a two-way deal. So they're lacking. What are they lacking here? I think they're lacking some two. They're lacking a two. They're lacking a two guard. I don't know if I trust Cam Christie at 21 to be my backup two. I don't know if I like that. Yeah, I don't know. Well, then you got Grady Dick. Yeah, that might be the only spot where they're sort of maybe not great is the two spot. It's a lot of it's a mystery dish. If you what am I trying to say? If you yeah, it's a mystery dish. That's what I'm trying to say. um, moving on to Niederhauser here, who I really liked in his brief time when he was actually playing. He did have, I think it was what, like one injury, was it two injuries? I forget. He didn't play a lot. I did like him in his time though. He was high energy, high motor. He sort of reminded me of like Hassan Whiteside a little bit when Hassan Whiteside was coming onto the scene, with the Heat. A very young Hassan Whiteside. I really like this kid, number 14. I think he's really good. I think he brings a lot of energy, especially to what was an older team last year, and now you have a much younger team in comparison, a bunch of 20-something-year-olds. Um, Run the floor, dive to the basket wide open. He's got way more shooters. I mean, Brandon Ingram's is a shooter. I'm not sure if he's a great three-point shooter anymore. I'm going to have to look at the numbers. You have Rui, who's a great spot-up, catch-and-shoot guy. He can also get downhill and maybe drop it off to Niederhauser. You have Darius Garland, obviously, who's familiar with feeding the big man and in his time in Cleveland when he played with Jared Allen. Um, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, Darius Garland played with. um, uh, Lloyd Marketing as well. He's played with Andre Drummond. So Darius Garland is very familiar with just getting the ball to the big guy and in fast break situations or in blow by situations where the big is going to come over from the corner or be trailing in a fast break situation. It's going to be very interesting to see what part Niederhauser plays in the offense under Tyronn Lue, who I want to say hasn't had good bigs, but I feel like hasn't optimized the bigs outside of that one. Yeah, the Ivica Zubac sort of. Ivica Zubac did have his best year under Coach Tyronn Lue, but was that more James Harden feeding Ivica Zubac versus the actual offense? I don't know. It's going to be interesting to say the least because the kid's full of potential. He's 23 years old. I mean, he's a bit of an older player, but they got him under contract for the next 3 years almost essentially. So we'll see. I would like I would like at least to see him maybe start a couple games at the beginning of the season, get his feet wet, see if he can actually play after his injuries and everything. And then if Brook Lopez is still on the roster, maybe, use Brook as a backup or something. Because Brook is 28 and he moves like 28. He's 38. He moves like he's 38. So we'll see there. And then finally, we move on to their draft pick here, Keontae Wagler, who is 19 years old, point guard. Um, I believe his calling card is defense, if I remember what all the draft people were saying. Let me pull up his stats here. So yeah, coming into his first year in the league, Keontae Wagler from Illinois, fifth overall pick for the Clippers, which was a godsend for them. In his 37 games in college, 17 points per game, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 44% from field goal, 39% from three. Free throws was about 80%. Effective field goal 54, and yeah, I don't know what to think about. I didn't really watch him during the college season, so I don't want to say too much about him. But I feel like having a guard as like insurance for Darius Garland, who, like we said earlier, hasn't been the healthiest in his career, is a great thing to have. And if you're gonna try to throw him out there with some of these older players, I think that's really good too. So he doesn't have to have that pressure of being a top 5 pick. He has Brandon Ingram, who was also a top 5 pick. You have Rui Hachimura, who was Rui a top 5 pick. He might have been a top 10 pick. But all those guys have experience being under that pressure and can alleviate that pressure off Keontae. Now, if I go look at his steals and blocks weren't great. Um, his rebounding's good. I mean, how tall is he? 6'6". That's a far departure from Darius Garland. If Wagler's actually really good and he can play, that's gonna open up the door for so many great defensive lineups for this Clippers team. Tall, lengthy. I want to say smart, but smart-ish. I mean, when Brandon Ingram uses his size, he's a really good defender. And I'm wondering if this is another question I have that probably can't be answered, but I wonder if Brandon having that offensive load off of him and getting to share the ball with Rui with Darius is gonna be good because in Toronto in his what like a year and a half a year and a half in Toronto, I want to say he was the only offensive option, but they weren't necessarily healthy. It was kind of clogged at the forward spots, and now it opens up a little bit more for him. We know, I think Rui's more of a four than a three, even though he can't play both, and we know Brandon's a bit more of a two or a three. So they're not gonna overlap too much in playing time. They can play together, is what I'm saying. You can even play Rui at the five if you really want to in some lineups, but it'll be interesting to see um, what the load is for Brandon Ingram. Are they going to rely on him a lot? Are they going to, not necessarily take the ball out of his hand, but try to get him more involved in a um, spot up role in the sense of like getting his shots easier, making his shot diet a little bit better. Because Brandon can chuck up shots. There are some times where you watch Brandon Ingram and you're like, oh, especially in this last playoff series where he didn't play. When Brandon Ingram stopped playing, the Raptors kind of looked good. They looked good without Brandon hogging the ball, and there's no disrespect to Brandon, but it looked kind of better without him. So there's that. I want to see how many threes did this guy take this season. How many threes did Keontae take this season? He took 219, and he made 87 of them. That's close to like 500. I mean, like yeah. I don't know. It'll be interesting because when was the last time? When was the last time Tyronn Lue actually coached like a real rookie? I don't think he ever. I mean, I'd have to go look at this Clippers team, but it's been a fair bit, right? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. If I'm forgetting somebody, please let me know down below in the comments. But I feel like I'm forgetting somebody that he might have coached, but it's gonna be fun. I think this team's gonna be fun. I think a lot of people are unfair to this team. I've seen a lot of like people poking fun at them online, and it's just like they're gonna. No, I saw a crazy one. I saw a crazy tweet that was like, they can win 50 games. It's like whoa, whoa, and the tweet above it was, when did we start playing 200 game seasons? I don't think it's a 50-win team. I think this team is somewhat of what the Suns were last year. Again, where some nights are gonna look really good, and some nights you're gonna be like, oh, that's why they're not like a top five team, a top six team, a top seven team. They're around like 8 or 9 or 10. Um, but they need to be good. I genuinely think this team needs to be good. Obviously, you keep Coach Tyronn Lue. I've talked about him this whole time. I don't think there's any speculation of him being fired or anything. I think that we're just moving in a completely different direction for the Clippers from where they were. And to touch on where they were before this, and the Kawhi departure a little bit, Kawhi departure means the end of an era for this Clippers organization where there was a point in 2020 where it was him, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and they were in the bubble and it looked like they could win the championship. And then ever since, um, they didn't win the championship in the bubble in 2020. And stuff started come out that they didn't want to be there. The whole team didn't want to be there in the bubble. It was mentally draining for all of them. This team was never right. They tried many different iterations after that with Russell Westbrook, with James Harden, with Bradley Beal even this past season, who they got rid of. Um, it just never felt right. It never worked. Um, I said this in my video when I talked about the Kawhi trade, where they just kept Kawhi and Paul George for like a season or two just so they could sell tickets to their new arena, the Intuit Dome. And since they sold tickets and since they probably recouped some of their expenditures on the Intuit Dome, they were fine with tweaking this roster, rebuilding it a little bit. Um, I think it's going to be it's either going to be a really fantastic group of guys who just all have this new opportunity. I mean, Brandon Ingram, this is what he's been on the Lakers, Pelicans, Raptors. This is gonna be his fourth team. This is Rui's third team. This is Darius' second team, um, and obviously of the young guys who this is like their first team. This is a team with a lot of players that want to prove something, and that could either be really bad and they could be a very selfish team, or it could be a very good thing and that they want to come together and show their old teams or just people online that they're not a bad team or they're not a bad group of players. Um, I want to circle back to Grady Dick here just for a second here at the end of the video. Grady Dick is an interesting player because he had an okay rookie year. Like literally was the most okay rookie year in a while from like one of these picks. And when I saw him play, because he hasn't played a lot the last 2 years now. He's the last 2 years, yeah, something like that. Um, he didn't look necessarily comfortable in Toronto, and I think everybody was waiting for him to get traded because at that point he was just taking up a roster spot. And then when you have guys like who are drafted after him, in different drafts like Colin Murray Boyles and like with their other guy that they have on Toronto, that outpace Grady Dick in progression of their game. You want to prioritize those guys, and the Clippers get like I said, a mystery addition, Grady Dick, who I still think can be a really good catch and shoot guy. I'm gonna need him to really lock in on that shot and not worry about anything else. Maybe just worry about the defense a little bit more because I do think he has good size, but focus on that 3-point shot. Focus on you know being on a team that doesn't have anything to lose, and just try to hit those threes, man. Those threes are gonna be so important. That's how you stay in the league. You can be a really bad player these days. You can be a really bad player. But if you can hit a three, you can stick around in the NBA for at least like 2 contracts. And then maybe by the third, when people start to be like, yeah, this guy can't, this guy can't play any defense still. But if you can hit a three, you could probably be in the NBA. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. I just wanted to hop on here and talk about that. Talk about the Brandon Ingram stuff, and yeah, talk maybe again. I would really like them to go get Payne Watson. I don't know what it would cost, but I think Payne Watson has so much untapped potential, and if that rumor is true that they're looking into it at least, or that they're inquiring about it, I would be very optimistic in that if they get Payne Watson, this team's future, and sort of a little bit outside of Brandon Ingram and Rui Hachimura and even Darius Garland, would be a lot brighter in LA. So we'll see what happens with them for the remainder of the off season here. I don't think there's a lot of big moves they can make. They did inquire about Jaylen Brown at some point, but that never happened. So we'll see if them holding their cards and them not pushing all their chips to the middle of the table works out, and see if this collaboration, this group of guys can make it work. Because I think they could be okay. So yeah, that's it. That's the video. If you wanna check out another video, check out the video on the left. Yep, right there. Check that one out. Check out the playlist on the right. If you want to subscribe, there's a little subscribe button. If you click my icon right there, bottom middle, a little subscribe will pop up, and you can subscribe with ease. Like and comment as well, and I will see you guys next time. Cheers.